On November 22, 2016, Larry Nassar was charged with 3 counts of first-degree criminal sexual conduct with a person under 13. At a press conference announcing the charges, officials revealed they have received about 50 more complaints from victims of Nassar. While Nassar was eventually sentenced for his crimes, his time at Michigan State University and USA Gymnastics impacted thousands of lives and hundreds of young women personally. The way his case was handled, from the first report of abuse to his eventual incarceration, is a lesson in why sexual abuse is still prevalent in youth sports culture in America today. And while this case made national news and ended with jail time, many similar cases continue to be overlooked across the country. Child sexual abuse involves any sexual activity with a child where consent is not or cannot be given. This includes A. Sexual contact that is accomplished by force or threat of force, regardless of the age of participants, and B. All sexual contact between an adult and a child, regardless of whether or not the child understands the sexual nature of the activity. Studies report about 7% of athletes are victims of sexual assault, with elite athletes having higher rates of sexual assault than lower-level athletes. Studies also indicate females are sexually abused in sports more often than males. Abuse is able to occur due to a number of factors, including competitive mentalities, lack of funding for multiple coaches per team that would reduce one-on-one time, and no requirement of mandated reporting that is the same across states and programs. In 1997, 16-year-old Larissa Boyce and an anonymous 14-year-old girl reported to their coach, Kathy Claggs, they were uncomfortable with Nassar's actions at an appointment. Claggs, who has retired, told the girls they had misunderstood what Nassar had done. Boyce had said if Claggs had reported the complaint, 2 decades of abuse could have been avoided. When Maggie Nichols was overheard talking to another gymnast about Nassar's treatment in 2015, her coach reported it to officials at USA Gymnastics. USA Gymnastics did not inform law enforcement and instead hired a private investigator who interviewed Nichols, Allie Raisman, and Michaela Maroney. USA Gymnastics contacted the FBI 5 weeks after the initial report. USA Gymnastics fired Nassar but did not notify MSU he was under investigation, claiming he had interpreted the FBI's request not to interfere to mean he shouldn't alert a major educational institution where Nassar was still working at the time. Maroney has accused USA Gymnastics of covering up the sexual abuse by forcing her to sign a $1.25 million confidentiality agreement. USA Gymnastics waived the agreement during the hearing to allow Maroney to make a statement in court. Maroney filed a suit against USA Gymnastics alleging the confidentiality agreement was forced upon her. In July 2017, Nassar was sentenced to 60 years in federal prison after pleading guilty to child pornography charges. On January 24, 2018, Nassar was sentenced to 175 years in a Michigan state prison after pleading guilty to 7 counts of sexual assault of minors. On February 5, 2018, he was sentenced to an additional 40 to 125 years in prison after pleading guilty to an additional 3 counts of sexual assault. USA Gymnastics is a multi-tiered governing and competitive body that supports gymnastics programs across the country, provides accreditation of programs, and actively recruits from gyms. It was once the national governing body for gymnastics at the Olympic level. The process of decertification ordered by the USC was started in 2018. On top of their own competitive programs, such as the Talent Opportunity Program and Olympics Hopeful Program, they often partner with gyms across the country, especially with university programs, which also sponsor youth programs. Because of the huge network of youth programs, a person like Dr. Larry Nassar was able to become connected to multiple different gyms very quickly. While sexual abuse in youth sports will likely never be eradicated, especially with the prevalence of family coaches, there are steps sporting bodies can take to ensure athlete safety to the best of their abilities. The most thorough would be a mandated reporter clause in which coaches, referees, and other adults working for sports organizations would become legally bound mandated reporters. These laws, which already exist for other positions like teachers and church leadership, require personnel to report any suspected incident of physical or sexual abuse by a parent or other adult. If they do not report, they can be charged under the law. With mandated reporter laws comes a system of reporting which is already in place through Health and Human Services, so leagues organizations would not need to deal with enforcement on their own.